Good afternoon, Rakesh, for this JKLAM initiative. And we are reaching out to influencer who is impacting the young generation. And I found that you have been impacting mid-career professionals since long. And I found it interesting that you can be a source of inspiration for our influencer program. JKLAM is an initiative which is in the memory of Abdul Kalam, our beloved president, who always believe in actually inspiring young students and generation of India. So I was going through a profile and I found that you born in a poor family to a textile mill clerk and then continued your values and leadership and since childhood, and then at the age of 10 years. So and also you studied in NIT Surat, being a mediocre student, came out in flying colors as a gold medalist, and you have a very long good career, professional career in various multinational over 19 years. That's really interesting. And then you left your corporate job, and now you are on a mission to empower over around 25 million professional across the globe. And you have already impacted more than 10,000 plus. That's a real great achievement. And I have seen a lot of your posts on social media, so it's really interesting to see. Welcome, Rakesh, once again for this interview for JKLAM.
Thank you very much, Rahul, for this opportunity. I'm truly humbled and honored for this opportunity. I've been through this J. Kalam website, and I understand that what I love about the entire website is the tagline, which is empower the students. And I know the chairman who is actually leading that, Munaswamy. So
Yeah.
I think he's connected to me on LinkedIn as well. So I'm really, really honored and privileged to be a part of such an interview where I can inspire a few students in this journey, owing to my own journey for the last 20 plus years. I'll be very, very glad and honored for that.
Thank you very much, Rakesh. So my question to you is, tell us something about the challenges that you faced in your childhood and how you overcame them,
Yeah.
especially.
So childhood, I mean, unlike the middle class people, we didn't have the great childhood per se, right? I have three siblings, all of us together, and my parents were not so literate, so they were working like all other labor people who are working on a daily labor job. So my mom was working in a silk factory, and my father was working in a textile mill, and both of them were just trying hard to actually bring us the food on the table. So it's just like a hand to mouth situation that we were having for almost 20 years or so of my childhood, as I have seen. And during this time, I mean, the only feeling that the childhood had was that, yes, I was a responsible kid because I was the eldest son in the family. And at the same time, by God's grace, we were very good in study, all three of us. So we were kind of focusing all our attention to the study rather than probably focusing on what we didn't have. I think this has been one of the greatest assets that I have realized, that we have been able to put the focus on the right thing from the beginning. And my parents are definitely struggling to get us the food and the study and everything, but we had to rely on a lot of help from the other people, our relatives, friends, the 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 other people around the neighborhood, not even for the food, but also for the lot of our daily needs kind of thing, right? So we used to get some two pairs of clothes in a year, and rest of the time we had to use the used clothes from other people so that we can actually survive that period. So the childhood, I would say that it is the childhood that I want to remain connected. The reason is because this was the childhood where I learned the biggest lessons of my life, that it is possible for a person coming from any background can actually rise and create something meaningful in their life. And this is the reason I want to keep reminding myself of that childhood. So I want to be connected to my roots for sure.
Thank you. After hearing your answer, especially to this question, you have already faced a lot of adversity. So my next question is basically really to, because you see a lot of children these days, or not only in orphanage or NGO, but also they are pretty much affluent also. But like how one can overcome various adversity in life, like because having no resources to study, and if they would like to fulfill their dreams, so how they can do that? Because you have done it successfully. So I would love to know that how people, children especially, can inspire from people like you, that you face a lot of adversity, like having no food, no clothes, and then still you were very focused what you want to become in your life.
Yes, definitely. And I think one of the things which help students, and today's students, I mean, unlike us, they have a lot of resources available. I mean, if you look at it, even in the village, if you go, they have the mobiles available. So as far as connectivity is there, connectivity to the resources, it is available. I think what is not available is the a little bit of understanding in terms of that how can they probably leverage the same resources for their creativity, for their upgradation, and for their upliftment. And this is where we need to probably pitch in as all the professionals, the JKLAM Foundation, who is doing this great job of bringing that awareness to empower students. And that is where we need to probably pitch in, that how can we probably help the students to make them aware about the resources which are already there with them and get them to that level. Now, if you do not have the resources, like I had my situation in my own childhood, I used to take the help of my friends. I used to take the help of my neighbors. I used to take the help of my teachers. In fact, I remember the incident that I didn't get the first rank in my 10th because somebody had actually taken their recheck of the paper and he got the first number. But my teacher actually realized that this is the student who needs the maximum help. And this student must be given the help to actually grow. And that teacher, despite I was not eligible for any prize, she had given her own money of salary as a prize money to me in that function. And this incident had actually given me a boost that, see, if you really, really want to do something in life, there are a lot of people to help you. But if you just decide that, oh, I just want to call myself a victim, that, oh, I don't have money, oh, I'm poor, oh, I'm unlucky, oh, I'm just kind of nowhere, then it will not help you. So for all the students who are hearing, or probably all the students who feel that they are deprived of anything, let me tell you that you are the biggest asset on this planet, and you have got the creativity, imagination, and the leadership in you intact, and it is given to you as you were born. It is just a matter of time that you need to tap into that talent and just demonstrate in front of the people. That is what is required.
Great, great. I think so. This is really an inspiring answer. So definitely. So coming back to your admission in engineering, and then from a mediocre student and to a gold medalist, this is something awesome. Actually, a very few rare instances I heard about that person from a mediocre and then came out in a as a bright student who has got the gold medal. So can you please tell us a little bit about your
Sure.
experience during your
So
engineering?
during my student life, I think I was not having a lot of resources, as I already told you. So what I used to do is I used to use the libraries more. So every library, wherever there is a free membership, I used to go there, bring the book, read it, give it back, bring another book, give it back. So that was my routine in the entire journey. Now, there were people who were ready to help us. Like, for example, my coaching class, sir, had helped me to probably give me the scholarship during my entire tenure. In my school, I was eligible for some merit scholarship because I was a bright student. So there were a lot of resources who were available to me to help me to grow. But at the same time, you cannot grow yourself by being in the poor environment. So for example, if you are studying in a very native language where you do not have the understanding of the English as a language, and by luck or by chance you are taking an admission in the very prestigious institute like an NIT where everything is going to be the English learning, and that too in an engineering, where that too you are competing with all the people from across the states in India. That's where the things became difficult. So in the first year, even though I was a bright student till 12th, it was everything in my native language, Gujarati. But as soon as I entered the engineering, I started finding myself struggling. In the first year of engineering, I thought I had taken the admission in production engineering, but at that time, the fad was about the computer engineering, that everybody should learn the computer, right? So I was thinking like, oh, I am a bright student, so I would probably work really, really hard, get great marks like I used to get till 12th, and I would change my branch. And let me tell you, the first year, first semester itself, I got a second class. So that was my first second class in my entire 12 years of life. And I couldn't believe it. The second semester, despite putting in a lot of efforts, I got second class. And now I realize it's not easy journey, Rakesh. It's not what you think that it is available and you can probably think. And the first year of engineering is always about what you have actually covered in the 12th, but more on the English, right? What you used to call in Gujarati, now you're talking about the integers and integration and the algebra. You don't even understand what does it mean. And you have to actually apply that in English. So that's where I realized that my student life cannot be the straightforward student life where I can enjoy my canteen time or probably look at the girls or probably have a fun in my college days or so. So what I used to do is I used to go bring out the books from the engineering library, take my dictionary, book, and my notebook all together before the college starts and after the college start. In between the canteen break, this is what my routine was. Go to the library, read the book, take out the words, see in the dictionary, put the meaning out, and create a notebooks of spellings. And this is how I was training myself to learn the English per se. What you are seeing me today speaking, it has not come so easily. It has come with a lot of hard work that I have put in that time. And then slowly and steadily, I was probably gaining my ground. I think by second year, I was already probably in the top of the rank. By third year, I was a ranker. And by fourth year, I was a gold medalist where people used to come to me and ask my notes. Even though I was not the, I would say, the great English speaker, neither the communicator, neither the writer. So in all three ways, I realized that those who really, really want to have something from the life, they can definitely achieve it. Only thing is you need to have it, right? Then you need to want it first, that yes, I want to achieve this. Now, I didn't have this in my mind that I have to be a ranker, but in my values that I have seen over the last 12 years or so in my childhood, I was always chasing the excellence in my life. So anything and everything that I do, I chase the excellence in that. So this is what was driving me, that my value was driving me. And that has brought me to that level of reaching to the NIT gold medalist, to be honest.
Okay, that's great. I think self-discipline was also a part of your life till
Yes.
now, I see, because very few people I have seen in engineering are so disciplined, taking the dictionary. If they are poor in any of the English or any of the subject also, they do that much of hard work. So discipline, self-discipline, I would say, has been a part of your life. And then a hunger towards excellence. That is something great message that you have given. So coming back to the younger generation that you see now today, and they have big dreams, wishes, and they want to contribute to in the nation progress, their future, their families, and everybody. So so how they can actually, because there are so many choices around, like engineering, medical, CA. So what you say to the younger generation, because they I when I talk to many of the students also, they are pretty confused actually in terms of choosing the right career for them. So what advice would you like to give for the younger generation? Because till the time you studied, I studied, I think time has changed. Digital era has come. A lot of things are changing every 3 to 5 years. So I would love to know your advice specifically for the younger generation, those who are aspiring for a bigger career, high impactful career.
Absolutely. And I think unlike our generation, I think the current generation has the problem of plenty. We had a problem of scanty actually. And
Yeah.
I realized that this generation is very lucky. I mean, if I look at my child, or probably for that matter, every young people who are actually graduating or even getting out of the school, they feel like, oh, wow, this is an ocean outside. What do I choose? Now, this problem of plenty is much more dangerous than the problem of scanty, I would say. The reason is the problem of plenty comes with a lot of shiny object syndrome that people actually get into. Now, for the students who are just coming out of the school, I have a very, very simple advice. First and foremost, ask yourself how much you have explored in your life. Are you exploring the subjects even? Like, for example, physical biology, physics, biology, then chemistry, then your maths, then your English, then your literature, then your languages. Which subject have you explored and which you found it very interesting in yourself? Okay, that when you are doing, you are enjoying that stuff. For example, if I ask my boy, 11-year-old, who is into sixth standard, he loves doing the maths. I mean, you give him at any given time, he would love to do it. He would love to do the English automatically. He loves the physics part of it. But if you tell him that you do the Hindi language or a Marathi language, or for some language, he would say, Rakesh, I can't do it. Daddy, I can't do it. Now, this is something which you need to find out from your early age time, that what is that you're liking towards. Now, this subject is not your future. The subject is just leading towards your future. Now, if you say that maths and physics is what something I like it, you have more likelihood towards the science as a stream. That's number one. Once you are getting into the science, you will realize that there are few more branches coming out. Now, do you have the propensity or the inclination towards the uh, human body? Then you would go towards the biology and medical. If you have more liking towards that, how things work, I mean, why the things are created, how the bridges are made, how this laptop is created, how this laptop works, how this Zoom works. If you have that curiosity, then give that curiosity some food so that you understand it. Okay, how Zoom works, because there is a programming behind it. There is a video streaming which is happening, which is getting programmed, encoded, and encrypted, and it goes as a live stream towards you and me. And there's a frequency on which we are talking right now. So now there is a curiosity which leads to the stream that is coming to. And this curiosity and the passion which will drive their career choices, rather than you just imposing that career choice on them. So some people, even if they are the maths wizard, they love the music. Why? Because that's what they love to do it. But let your curiosity or the creativity explore the world. That's the number one advice. Number two is give your curiosity some food so that they can advance in that direction. And third is, once you choose it, at least consistently explore that field towards the depth, because that will give you the real meaning of that field, and also the understanding that, wow, this is something which I love to do and I can do it forever.
Thank you. A great answer. I think this is really a good insight from your side. So if you heard about new education policy, and like our education system, we have a lot of debates going on that our education system has outdated and all that. So if you see till schooling through colleges, like what are the gaps that you think in our current education system? Because when companies recruit, or maybe not only in companies but also in government job, they are looking for a newer skills candidates actually. So do you think there are certain gaps which needs to be fulfilled in our education system?
Yes, I think one of the biggest gap that we need to probably bridge is theory versus practical, as we all know, right? Whatever we are teaching, or whatever theory that is relevant in the market today, is it really getting into the practical mode or not? So if I'm learning a formula of H plus O is equal to H2O, I know H plus O is equal to H2O, but how does it look in the H2O in the real life? Do we really care about the H2O? Why don't we integrate that H2O to the water conservation? Why don't we probably link that H2O to the how to clean that water? How do we probably put that H2O into, let's say, how do you store the water or preserve the water? Now, if you link this everything to the practicality, there will be a lot of learning, which is an integrated learning, which I consider it. And when the integrated learning happens, the students will be able to actually see the meaning in their real life. See what they see in the outside world, it is not same in the book world. And if they say the book world and the outside world is different, the distraction towards the outer world is different, because the outer world is completely distracting them from the book world. Now, if I can learn the history and I can learn many great lessons, but are we teaching them the great lesson in terms of the financial education? Are we teaching them the lessons of the self-education, that how to learn is what you are telling you, right? But what to learn and why to learn that? And if you learn that, what can you do with that? If we can teach students in that aspect of it, why to learn, what to learn, and how to use that learning into your practical life, that will actually do the great good to the students of current generation. Because what I have seen is the financial education, the business education, the, I would say, the industry education, and fourth is the spiritual education. These four are, and the fifth, I would say, the self education are missing right now in the current education system. And I would not say it's completely off. I would just say that it is just need a little bit of revamp and overhaul in the entire system, which can actually bring the same concept of, let's say, what did Hitler and Mussolini did, and how does it matter to create the empathy for the people and become a leader,
Yeah,
right?
rightly
How
said.
do you create the vision of a Mussolini and Hitler rather than showing him as a bad leader per se? And that is what we need to understand, that how are we teaching our students is what matters today, not what is there in the book. Because if we can probably relate it to the integrated learning of a theory and a practical and the real world, you will be actually at a better place today.
Yeah, thank you. So, if you see where our current generation of India is heading towards, like if you see, they have a lot of dreams, they have plenty, as you mentioned, rather than we have lesser options at that time. So, where they are heading, are they confused, or you mean to say because of this various choices around? And how one can focus on certain career, because career is a long journey, as we all know, and the winner is something who can sustain over a longer period of time. So if you see the younger generation, are they heading in the right direction, or if any advices you would like to give to them so that they can focus on the right career as far as their competency is concerned, and how they can identify the in fact competency also.
Absolutely. So I think you have asked three questions. I'll answer one by one. One is where the younger generation is heading towards in India. Let me tell you the observation that I have over the last couple of years. Well, I have become more self-aware of looking at it. I think the younger generation has a lot many options today. But what I love about the younger generation is they are very, very courageous. They're fearless in their nature. They are ready to experiment in their career.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is a good sign for India per se, because India is the youngest nation, which we call, right, today, that having the highest number of younger population. So we have a great chance to become the world economy and the top of the world as well. When our younger generation look at the things from the practical point of view and try to solve the social problem and making those social impact. And a lot of younger generation is nowadays going towards that. And this is what I love about it. Earlier, it used to be the the taboo of IIT and IIMs, only those who used to go to that a startup kind of a mind, right? Now it is not the just I would say the monopoly of IIT or IIMs. It is possible for every Tom, Dick, and Harry in today's world to actually create something which is meaningful in the society. So that is where India is heading as a nation. The second question you asked me about that, because there is a problem of plenty, what do they choose for? How do they choose for? So what they need to choose is they need to probably identify these three things. The one is the exploration part of it, which I already mentioned. Right from the childhood, if we are allowing our children to explore more and create that curiosity and identify their own passion in that way, I think we'll be at a better place for them to create a world where they can choose what they love to do rather than they choose something which they are forced to do. So doing a job is okay, but doing a job which you love to do is even better, right? It's not that everybody have to be the entrepreneur or a startup guy or a CEO or a founder. Like 18 years old telling me that I'm a CEO and founder of so and so, I feel proud about it. But at the same time, how much intensity or the I would say the experience level that they have is a questionable answer, right? Now, the second aspect is they need to experiment. Once they explore, they need to experiment with it. So for example, you tried out, let's say you tried out blogging, then you tried out maybe the digital marketing, then you tried out maybe the affiliate marketing, then you tried out maybe doing the video shooting. So what is that something which is driving you today? And does it have any social impact, or is it just for your fad that you are doing it? Oh, I love to do it. Just like having a selfie all the time on the Insta Mojo or sorry, Instagram and something. That's where I enjoy it. So they love the celebrity status, what the people are showing right now, the shiny object. But at the same time, once they experiment, they'll come to know what is working, what is not working. And the last and the most important thing is they need to examine the experiments. So once they examine the experiments, they will realize that this will have the social impact. This is what I love. And at the same time, I can probably get the best out of it for myself and for the society. And when they do it, they will be in a better career opportunity, be it a job or a business, doesn't matter, but they will be enjoying their life and living happily. And that's what I believe they should be doing right now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think you answered all three questions very beautifully. And this is a real good message to the younger generation if they really would like to choose and focus and experiment or do some exploration related to their career. So in what manner they should do. So coming back to your, you are now a full-time entrepreneur, and after having more than 19 years of a great professional career. So what made you choose to become entrepreneur after a long successful career? You could have been more number of years in the corporates because you have a very good expertise on the different roles as I have gone through your LinkedIn profile. So what made you choose this motivation, where it came from?
So I would say need and a desire both. Okay. And the need is when I was doing my corporate journey, I was a self-made corporate leader anyway, because I was not into the bracket of yes boss kind of a bracket. So I was almost like of an anomaly in the corporate life where people I was not fitting in the corporate life because people used to feel that, oh, this guy is very pretty much not communicative, very much introvert, and yes, but he's very good what he does. So I was kind of that person in my corporate life. But that gave me one thing when I was heading towards one of the annual function in my company, and one of the video I was looking at it, and that guy was Mr. Shiv. He's a group president of Aditya Birla Group, and he was just reviewing one of the book of his colleague Chandramouli, Catalyst. And
Catalyst. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a great book.
and yeah, and he sent this message, and he told that when you want to grow your career, what is that you are doing after for 15 years? Because after 15 years, if you are just working for yourself, that means you have not lived your life. It is a time for you to give back to society. What is that you are giving back to the society? What is that you are giving back to the country? Or are you just living yourself? And are you creating any legacy for yourself? Or are you just probably here, came, paying the bill, on, and then left? that means there are no footprints that you're left except for your children know that, yes, boss, my father has dropped some asset of one house, and probably me to actually struggle for the rest of my life to do the job and continue. So that hurt me a lot, that message at that point of time. And when I look back at my life, I realized that I was always a consumer. I was always taking from the world. I was not giving it to the world. And when I realized that, I also asked myself that what can I give back? I don't have anything special. What can I give back? But this is the myth with the all common man, that they don't feel that they are special. They always feel that they are common man, right? So they love to call themselves as victims rather than call them the responsible people. So, and then the incident occurred where I got a layoff notice from one of my organization, which just was a trigger that I was waiting for in my life. Because till that point of time, I was still thinking that, okay, yeah, I'll give back to society, but maybe in my small way, give some charity, maybe work in an NGO or something on the weekends. And that's about it. But will it create the kind of legacy that I wanted to have? Or am I even capable of doing something on my own? That is a question I need to ask. And the second question I also realize is, while in the corporate life, I was always the guy who was following the instruction.
Yeah.
Right. And there's nothing wrong in following the instruction as long as it actually aligns with what you love to do. But it is everything wrong. It is following the instruction when you do not align with your values. And that is where it hurt me the most, that after spending so many years in the organization, after spending 17 years in the corporate world, if somebody can actually take a call on your destiny and actually put you off in the life, and maybe you can bring on the footpath one more time, like I used to have in my own childhood, then I realized that why somebody is actually taking control of my life. Why can't I take a control? Why can't I take charge of my life? And that was the trigger point where I realized that this is the time now I need to find a way. How can I take charge of my life rather than allowing anybody to control my life? Now, it is not to take a revenge on the corporate, not to probably say that the people are bad who has actually laid me off. They are really good people. They are really good human beings, good leaders. They are actually helping a lot of people as well. But at the same time, for me, it was not the path that I wanted to have. And at that moment, I decided to invest on myself. Now, I was a person who had never invested on myself, because even in the engineering college, I used to borrow the books. So I realized that not reading the book or not investing on myself has actually brought me to that level that somebody can call the shot on your life.
Yeah.
That is what the trigger which I actually use it to fuel my passion, to mentor and coach people. And that also triggered the journey called the growthpreneurship, which I call today.
Yeah, that's a great, I think, inspiration like you got from that book launch. So another question is like there might be many people, but I would like to know who has inspired you the most till now in your life, because there might be many people right from your childhood, but I would love to know so that actually if there is something people can take inspiration from, if there is somebody outside, any personality.
So unlike, I mean, the other people who have a lot of exposure, right? I was unaware of a lot of things on the personal development side. Also on the professional development side, I was living in a cocoon for almost 18 long years, where I didn't have any understanding about the outside world. The most I used to come across is the professional certification of Six Sigma and the other aspect of it, nothing more than that. And that was one of the darkest thing that people are actually doing, that they are living in that cocoon. uh, but having said that, I think there are few real life people who inspired me the most. And one such person was my first boss. Okay. He was an IIM graduate, uh, and having a head of the category at that point of time. As a graduate trainee engineer, he asked me only one question, and I got selected from a graduate trainee engineer to in that department, procurement department. And he asked me this one question: what is that one quality that you want to look at from for your partner, that is your life partner? And I said the transparency. At that time, uh, I had that wisdom probably to say that this is what I'm looking for. And he just put me in the procurement department, which is the most difficult department to actually keep the transparency intact.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that was precisely the reason why he chose me. And when I realized this, now I am connecting the dot, but he was the guy who was holding his stand. So against all MDs, all bosses, against all the pressure of the vendors or the internal office politics, he was the guy who was holding his fort. He would rather sacrifice his job rather than he would probably give into his self-esteem, that he would just bow down to somebody. And that guy inspired me the most, that if I want to live like somebody, I would live like him, that I would take charge of my career or my life, and I would live my life by my own terms rather than somebody defining my life. So I wanted to be my own hero. And for me, that person, that boss is my hero. Even though I couldn't get a lot of people to inspire me. Yes, I had fortune to get a lot of mentors in my late life that I was going through the entrepreneurship. But this gentleman had left me the footprints or a stamp in my mind that this is what you want to do in your life. That whatever you do, you be the best in the world. And when you do best in the world, make sure that you take charge. You don't bow down to anything in the world. And that has remained with me forever.
I think you took a great inspiration and is still following the same learning from him. What kind of attitude a person should has, transparency and every values, whatever you say. So, Rakesh would love to know about your current venture as an entrepreneur, what you are doing now, and how you are empowering the mid-career professional and other stuff that you are doing. Would love to know about that how you are making an impact to the society and to the younger generation.
Absolutely. So the mid-career professional comes naturally to me because I have been through the mid-career for a long period of time. And I realize why they need to be supported today, because between the entire corporate hierarchy, the top hierarchy is always kind of a secured people. The bottom hierarchy is always protected. The new people are the juniors as such at the bottom of the pyramid. But the mid-level is something where they are not getting supported, despite probably putting in a lot of hard work in their own offices. They are sacrificing a lot of things on the personal side as well to actually achieve what they are achieving in their corporate life. Now, having said that, I also realized that while I was going through my own challenges in the mid-career while I was laid off, I also realized that we support to the three different generations, that ourselves, then our children and our parents together. Anything happens in the mid-career impact all three generations. And if we do not probably take charge today, there are people who will be actually playing with your career like they played with my career. And this is what is driving me to actually start this movement of a growth leader, where I want to make sure that everyone who gets in touch with me or in my close circles, they are getting transformed, empowered to rise in their wealth, influence, and the growth. The reason is very simple. If you do not do that, somebody else will probably ride over you. And over the last 2 years, I've been very fortunate and honored to actually train 12,000 plus mid-career professional by now. More than 3,500 professionals are being coach and mentor in my ecosystem, which has been created for them. And the vision is very clear: to create an empowered growth leaders in the world who can rise in wealth, influence, and growth. And as soon as I can provide that part, how can they take charge? How can they become the growth leaders? How can they really rise in that wealth, influence, and growth? that is giving me the lot of satisfaction. The success stories which come on every day in day out, that drives me every day, that how can I do more for them so that they can become the right leaders in the world. See, if I don't teach them the right leadership right now, I know for sure that at the end of the day, I'm not doing the justice to my next generation,
Yeah.
because they will not be able to guide their next generation. They will again bring them to the level that they were. And this is the hidden agenda, I would say, the invisible force which is driving me, that I want to create everybody to create their own legacy. When they
Yeah.
create their own legacy, their next generation will be at a better off.
Yeah, I think you are doing a very tremendous job, and the kind of numbers which you have actually just told me, over 10,000 people, 3,000 growthopreneurs, or maybe many people have actually impacted from you. This is the, I think, the real impact actually, which normally people are not able to do in their entire life. So I think you are doing a really great job, Rakesh. And so my last question to you is, what are your futuristic plan as an entrepreneur to empower more younger generation in the coming months or coming years? Because now you are a full-time entrepreneur. So what are your futuristic plan where actually people can look into some of your programs and get inspired? So I would love to know a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. See, my plan is very, very clear, that I want to empower and transform this 25 million people. And what I'm creating now is the International Growth Leadership Academy,
Oh,
where every person who is in that mid level can come and grow themselves to a level to become the world class growth leaders. And I want each and every business in India to be supported by this academy, who can actually find the leaders in their generation, who are driving by their passion, who are driven by their purpose, who are driven by their passionate will to do something more than what they are paid for, and at the
mhm.
same time create an impact in the society and create a legacy for themselves as well as for the society as well. So I'm looking at a very, very big picture. In the next 10 years, I'm going to be that International Growth Leadership Academy has to be on the world map, is what my vision is.
Oh, that's a great, really great vision, and STS, and all the best for that. And I would like to know, as a volunteer for this not NGO, Jai Kalam, Abdul Kalam has been my ideal since my early days. I have gone through many of his books, and the way he used to tackle with his students, teachers, and that kind of interest he had to actually empower the young children. So, would you like to know anything about our NGO, Jai Kalam?
Absolutely. Help me understand, how can I contribute as a leader in the society to this mission that you guys are driving at your end? How can I probably contribute in terms of the cash kind, or probably my services, or develop any program that can help the younger generation to understand more about the life, more about inspiring themselves towards the next level? I would be very happy to create something, maybe give it free. I don't need any money for that.
So that's a really good thought, Rakesh. We have four programs. Like one is Pura program. In this program, we donate science kit books to NGO and government schools. And another one is Pursue program, where we have a mentor list who would like to volunteer as a mentor for the uplifting of the poor children, especially on the NGO side, and also from the government schools, or maybe anybody who are looking for any kind of guidance. Because like some people are looking for technical guidance, some people are looking for career clarity, some people are looking for some sort of awareness. So we have a mentor list, where actually soft skill kind of guidance also for the industry or for any kind of job application. So we invite people like you, where actually we conduct session, and we if a group of student, or maybe any needy student would like to take a guidance from those people, those who are specialists in their field. I think you can choose that student or that person to guide him. And we have recently provided guidance to 2 or 3 students who have got the job from the orphanage recently. And the other program is again the Ignite program. That is basically we conduct various session all throughout the country. Right now, the online medium is there, and where actually we talk about different topics like how to overcome fear, how to take charge of your career. And so through these sessions, we like enlighten them, and our audience is growing. We have a now presence on social media, LinkedIn page, and everything, and YouTube channel also. And the fourth program, which is now we are discussing, that is an influencer program that you have influenced many people. And with this interview, I am very sure that whoever will listen or watch this interview definitely take inspiration from you. Right from the childhood, you have been a real inspiring person to many people, not only in your society, family, or relatives, but also all across India. Now people are seeing you as a impactful person, as you are impacting so many people through your post, through your content, and wherever you are available on the social media. So I think in this digital world, I think the reach is now not that much hard to reach out to people. So as a part of Jakalam initiative, definitely we would love to take, you can choose any of our program, visit our website. It's not like you can tell your convenient time where actually you would like to give some session. We will finalize some date and all that, where actually you can empower the students of any NGO or government school, where actually they can be benefited. And not only we can choose all across India, we are not restricted to any particular state or any particular city. Maybe from your home state also, like you are basically from Gujarat, and right now you are living in Maharashtra, so you can choose that those states and connect those NGO through us, and then we can provide science kit also to them and any other help. And another program that we have recently launched initiative, I would say, is basically to present the cash prize and the certificate on behalf of Jakalam, who in 2 or 3 categories. I think if you need details, if you need any influencer in the society who has done tremendously well for the empowerment of the education, especially for poor children, then we can nominate that person through you, and then we can provide that certification and the cash award, whatever we have. So these are all the programs as of now. We have volunteers from all across the globe, Dubai, US, and many different countries. We are growing day by day, and we would like to like take this. And now actually we are also reaching out influencer like Professor Arun Tiwari, who has been a part of co-author in many of the books, and he also worked in DRDO under Abdul Kalam, and Srijan Pal Singh. I hope you heard his name. He is an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad, and he was with Abdul Kalam for long years. He has founded one organization in the name of Abdul Kalam. So we are reaching out of such kind of people, those who can inspire the younger generation in a real sense, because now we can say that India is changing, and the younger population would like to think apart from the traditional job options. They would like to do something more.
Sure, Rahul. I think it is a privilege and honor to be on this platform for sure. And thank you for sharing this information. I'll definitely reach out to you anyway in the form where I can probably impact more in terms of the any of this program that you told. And I'll definitely keep this in mind that if any influencers who can impact more in this way, I think I'll bring them to your notice as well, so that you can probably take them forward to the J Kalam Foundation as well.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you once again, Rakesh, for your valuable time and coming to this interview program. And your answers was really inspiring for the younger generation. We will upload this video to our YouTube channel, and we'll tag you. so that actually it can go to maximum people, those who can actually avail the great knowledge that you have actually just put forward in your answers. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much, Rahul, and look forward to have such more engagement in the future as well. And wish you all the best with the work that you are doing. I am really inspired with the way that you have grown up and the work that you are doing in this foundation as well. Thank you very much, and God
Thank you.
bless.
Thank you.